DNA evidence for Atlantis. Now this is a very, I don't know, very confused, very complex histories and findings that is very hard to come to a conclusion. Though Greek Plato's claims that it was near to Solon, near to Morocco, North Africa, in Greece, in Mediterranean Sea, which cannot be true. It's not quite true. And the name is Atlantis, and here the Oceanic Atlantic. Okay, Edgar Cayce too. His findings is very his find is not very accurate and is doubtful, dubious, because the entity that he was canalized at the time, he was not ready for disclosure yet, because he's let's say he's a very old man, very unscientific time. Maybe he was born in the 18th century or even before that, I'm not sure. So at that time he was not supposed to know everything yet there was to know, and those aliens does not disclose at the wrong time. They just give you bit by bit hearsay or just what they want you to know, but not what really happened. Some say that Atlantis was based on even cyclopes, giants, people that were half beasts, half humans. Cannot be, maybe, but that happens because after the experiment in laboratories, when the Anunnakis, the aliens Anunnakis, the Confederation forces step to Earth, and then they modify everything. Then they started with the experiments between beasts and humans. Of course, animals were here first, no doubt about it. Animals and vegetations were here first prior to humans, and they, even up to now, they're still making experiments in occult and hidden labs underground. So what I'm trying to say is that they create this place here, which was near the Oceanic Atlantic, between North America and South America, to Europe and even Africa. So they make commerce between all those continents. Okay, and it was near the British Isles, between near the Basque or the what they call Balkans, near Italy, Greece, etc., and also North Africa. So here where Atlantis mostly were situated. Also Antarctica, maybe it was a point in Antarctica. Back on the 90s I started to think about Atlantis, and then North America come to my Antarctica come to my mind, near Canada there. I always thought that it could be the whole Americas, and that especially so the southmost point of America, there on the Patagonia near Argentina, the South Pole, and Antarctica. That's why it was all covered in ice. Okay, I came to this conclusion. I'm not sure whether right or not, but the idea that it came from sold from Africa, it was Greece alone. No, it was not. It should be erased. Another theory, another possibility is that it could be here in Central Americas, Bermudas, and Mexico, but especially so in Bermuda Triangle is there where the center of where the this large stone stood before it was all covered with water. Now people ask God because they were perhaps they have sinned and then God punished them. No, it was battle between alien races. Okay, it was covered from history. It was the aliens, actually it was the aliens who fought, one faction of aliens with another for power, pure power. So that's why they threw bomb and everything sink under the sea. Another bomb was thrown in the Dead Sea in the Middle East near Africa. Just why it called now the Dead Sea, because a nuclear bomb was thrown there. Another bomb was thrown in India. You can search, go and search, go ask any intelligent, well-known, educated Indian person, and they will tell the same thing, that it really, a war really happened, really occurred in India long time ago, and the aliens has everything to do with it. And when they came here, they already found people on Earth. The aliens came in, they already found people. Atlantis was a former tiny island, but it had branches in all over the Americas, especially so all over the Americas down to South Americas. Okay, in South America you can find tunnels, chains of tunnels throughout South Americas, and caves where those people were claimed to have gone. They were banished to the caves, to the interior underneath the earth. So in recent years, genetic research has produced unexpected results that have opened the door to many historical mysteries. The surprising outcomes have also provoked unintended controversy. The reasons that these DNA investigations have sparked intense debates in the fields of anthropology, and they never come to a conclusion because they are knocking the wrong door. History and even cultural evolution will become clear as our story unfolds. The genetic probes began innocently enough, with geneticists wanting to see what secrets human genes might reveal about our complex, mysterious and often disputed history. Anthropologists and historians had long thought that the Americas had been populated by Asians crossing a land bridge that connected Asia and North America during the last ice age. This was referred to as a Bering Strait crossing theory and was believed to have occurred about 12,000 years ago. No, it was much recently. It's nothing to do with 12 years ago, nothing to do with the ice age. It was something else. And how they got there, they did not walk at all. It was taken by boats by some factions. Okay, stop the lies. It was recent, let's say 600 years ago, prior to Columbus and Christopher Vespucius and Cabral and Vasco da Gama reconquered the Americas, because once these people were already in here, perhaps it was a single continent. It was not divided like this. and those people that were there, the Vikings came in there, and then after that there were a big war, and those people were thrown back to Europe. And what happened is that they brought in people from the east by boats, by not caravans. I mean, in Portuguese we call caravilla, but I mean it's just those boats that was used a long time ago, and they were taken to inhabit Americas, and they know the history. If you ask in Apache, who is Apache, who is Paje, is the tribe, the head of the tribes of the shamanic people. They came from Asia, come from Mongolia, they came from China, in between China and Japan. That's why they have the appearance of Japanese and Chinese people. Those who went to South Americas mostly. Some came from Egypt, some came from Indonesia, farther down. Then they went to South America. Those from Egypt mostly went all the way up to North America. And so the descendants, the ancestors are the modern Asian people, are their descendants. Their ancestors are here. Was taken here after the others former inhabitants were thrown back to Europe. Okay, that's the history that they are not telling, and I don't like lies. I hate lies. I hate his story. The reason that this DNA investigation has sparked intense debate. So the genetic probe began innocently enough with genetics. So no, they did not come 12,000 years ago. That's nonsense. 12,000 years ago, this continent here was exploded. They come about 600, no more than 1,000 years ago. It's a lie, big lie. That was 12,000. No sense. Genetic analysis on Native American, on Shamanic America is more beautiful. Say Shamanic tribal people from the Americas. DNA sample began in the 1980s. However, the research effort from this time, the 80s, I already knew that they had come from Asia, and I was a young girl back then. However, the research effort greatly accelerated in the 1990s due to rapid technological progress in the field. In fact, the early results confirmed the generally accepted theory showing a clear link between shamanic tribal people of the American DNA samples collected from native peoples in Siberia, Asia, which come from China. Nevertheless, as the study both deepened and broadened to include Asians across the continent, the increasing data revealed that the migration pattern had been more complex than anthropologists had envisioned. Reptilian put them there, to tell the truth. The early results, and then later come Veraculture. That's why when Veraculture come there, this one's a man of the reddish beard, came to South America. What they did, they killed him. Later, when the conquerors, Spanish conqueror went back there, the 15th century, they were revered. This time around, they were revered as gods, because they knew that those places were once inhabited by those people, but were taken over from people that came from Asia and Egypt. Genetic analysis and narrative to rapid technological progress in the feedback to areas coffee medicinally accept theory. Sample deep and broad radiation across the continent. Okay. The early results showed that shamanic tribe distinct tribes were comprised of 4 distinct mtDNA haplogroups A, B, C, and G. The haplogroup designation represents 4 different maternal lineages. These 4 lineages are found throughout North, Central, and South America. However, only 3 of them, A, C, and D, were discovered in the Siberia Asian populations. The B haplogroup was traced to Aboriginal population groups in Southeast Asia, China, Japan, Melanesia, and Polynesia. So my mtDNA haplogroup is C. Ako to 1, 2, 3 and I, and me, my mtDNA haplogroup is C. So it comes from where? A, C, and G were discovered in the Siberian Asian population. Before proceeding, you should briefly clarify what mtDNA is. There are 2 types of genetic material used for analysis, cellular and mtDNA. The latter is found in human mitochondria outside the nucleus of cells, and is on transferred down generations through females. So my female ancestors have C haplogroup. Hence, mtDNA stands for maternal DNA. This type is simpler than the cellular DNA and it evolves faster. So it is used to distinguish human groups that evolved in separate geographic areas. In historical terms, what the genetic evidence obtained from mtDNA samples translated into what was a more diverse and complex migration pattern that includes people arriving to the Americas in boats. Exactly. I knew it since the 80s. I knew because I have memory of the past. Thor Heyerdahl had hypothesized that this was the case by showing that it was possible during his Kon-Tiki expedition across the Pacific Ocean to Peru. While orthodox anthropologists embraced the results of the earliest DNA finds, the later results caused consternation and controversy. They not only showed that the Americas were settled by many different racial groups come from many different parts of the Asian. The genetic finds also demonstrate that the migration events took place much earlier than previously thought. No, it was, it could be because the Atlantis it is destroyed many years ago. So it's a possibility that they brought Asians then to Americas after the former people were banished, were destroyed, annihilated from the Americas. Anthropologists, archaeologists, and historians had postulated that the migration had taken place less than 20,000 years ago. Could be 600, I would say 600, no more than 1,000 years ago. Really, 100 before the Latin and British Empire went there to reclaim the land back. DNA analyzers placed the initial wave of migration at between 3080 score 15,000 years before present. This finds to raise the Brown and Orthodox community. However, in recent years, radiocarbon dated materials from South America, California, and the southwestern United States has come to light, and the dates agree with the conclusions of the DNA research. Clearly, the genetic investigation had produced a mixed bag of outcomes for orthodox anthropologists and historians. In general, the long-held theories about a North Asian origin from Native American populations were proven correct. Yeah, it's true. Oh my God, only an idiot cannot see on a person who is truly blinded by self-convictions and by chauvinism, whatever, won't accept the fact that those people share the same culture. If you come to Asia, you see the same culture. Shamanism is all over. You see the traces, the hair, the skin color. Many of them share the same skin color. They come from Asia. There's no question about it. From Indonesia, from the rest of Southeast Asia, and even Southeast Asian. For some people, they believe that there were aborigines here that were not Indo-Chinese. Nowadays, you see more Chinese, like the Malay, Indonesians, Thai. You see more they have the Chinese trace, right? The Oriental trace. Long time ago, it wasn't like that. It was mostly aborigines, just like in Australia. India also, there is black people from Africa lives in jungle. Because it means what? That some of the people, the current people, also came and migrate to that place, to the place of to Southeast Asia, to South Asia or South and Southeast Asia. Prior to the recent current people, there were other type of people already living here, the aborigines. Okay, and those other people who came here, they were mostly from Mongolia. They were Mongolian, Chinese, etc. They wasn't the real people, or those from South Asia were mostly from Central Asia, like Afghanistan, Persia, Persis, from Iran, modern day Iran. They all migrate to what we call now South Asia. However, before they come, there are already people living there. The people most that came from the continent of Africa. So, route and nevertheless, the narrow focus on Siberia, the single land bridge migration route, and their chronology had been narrow. Yeah, it's a narrow. They don't necessarily come from Siberia. They come straight to Americas by boat. They navigated by boat. China was known to navigate as well, long before Columbus, before the conquerors that we know today. the British Empire, the Iberia Empire. Before that, China already crossed the oceans looking for place to migrate. So some of the Asian immigrants did come from Siberia along the route, but other groups came direct from Japan, Polynesia, which can be part of Indonesia, other part of Southeast Asia. And boats and their journey began in remote antiquity. That's true. I would say less than 1,000 years ago, more than 500 years ago. Genetic research determined that 95% of the people that they call Native Americans fell into one of the 4 AD haplogroups, and while these MTDA types were also found in Asia, they are not present in Europe or Africa. This too indicates that Asian was the ancestral region of most of those people that they call Native American. But that's why I knew it's nothing native. They are the conqueror, they are the immigrants from Asia. Native American, the shamanic Asian people, tribes. Then in 1997, another lineage was discovered, which is geneticist dubbed X. This discovery ignited a storm of controversy that has not died down to this day. The X haplogroup needs careful, thoughtful, and deep historical analysis, because this group may well hold one of the most important keys to unlock the secrets of our collective. I already know, I know it, since I was visited by aliens and in 83, and all the things come to my mind, all the memories surface, and I knew all these things that the scientists are still looking for. I knew back in the 80s already. Obviously, about 4% of Native Americans, of shamanic American from Alaska to the tip of South America, do not fall into one of the 4 major haplogroups. And how about this from Hawaii? Scientists assumed that these minority lineages came from interactions with European and African groups since the time of Columbus. No, they are Japanese. The Eskimos are Japanese. Okay, they are from Mongolia. This proved to be true for about 1.5% of Native Americans. However, 2.5% were found to belong to the X lineage. Once this small MTDA group was identified as a distinct genetic type, the race went on to ascertain the place of origin. Oh my God, you're still looking for it? Southeast Asian, dude. Indonesian, Mongolia, China, Mongolia, Indonesia. This is where the mystery really gets complicated and interesting. In spite of the fact that the previous genetic data was forcing the orthodoxy to make some alteration to the migration scheme and chronology, as we saw, the basic paradigm had been confirmed, but the discovery of the X haplogroup changed the situation dramatically. It was known to exist in Europe and about 5% of the population, and unknown in Asia and Africa at the time. Those people who live in Atlantis, it was more of Latin, British, and the Basques, and the Hellenist Greek lineage. The X lineage was certain to have arrived in the Americas from about 38,000 to 10,000 years ago. Some people just want to be politically correct, and they have no shame, no qualms about lie. It's time to tell the truth. You are being paid to fool the idiots and to lie. What could this mean? What could this mean? What could this mean? That all those people come from the Basques. Why don't tell the truth? Basque, British Iceland, the modern day Iberians, Greek, the Balkans. At first, anthropologists argue that since Europeans had not traveled across the Atlantic at such a remote point in time, the X group had to be a outcome of post-Columbus contact and intermarriage. However, when researchers analyzed the scientific samples found in the Great Lakes Mount Builder region, which dated back long before Columbus, they identified some of those samples as belonging to the X group. This proved they were not the outcome of any post-Columbus people contact and were not of recent origin. Of course not. They were another people, and there were mostly also of alien origin. When investigators compiled the genetic data on the distribution of X haplogroup in the Americas, what they discovered sent shockwave through the conventional and alternative history camps. The X lineage was only found in a handful of tribes scattered across the country: the Yakina and Sioux in the northeast, and the Navajo in the southeast, and about 5% of the population. However, the greatest concentration by far occurred in the Ojibwe, Oniwata, and Nusha-Nul tribes, where almost 25% of the tribal members fell into the X lineage. But where you get these samples from? Of course, you get the sample from the skeleton find that were from these people who already were there, maybe 600 years old. So what's the big deal? You took sample of DNA of a skeleton that was there about 600 years, and then you match it with the current tribal people. Of course it will match. Of course it will match because it comes from them. So what's the mystery? There's nothing mystery about it. Why don't you talk about the mummies that were found, if you already have, throughout the world? Why don't you talk about it? Why don't you talk about the giants that were found in the place where I was born in Northeast Brazil? 2 meters tall giants, one line of corpses during an archaeological when they were digging the sand to make some construction. They find a lot. They find one graveyard filled with 2 meter tall corpses. They call in the expert, the archaeologist, and then they came over. They took away all their skeletons, and no more nothing, and no more we knew about it. Case closed. They don't want to disclose to whom belong those skeleton. So you see, there's a lot of secrets that they are not telling nobody about the America, about the origins of the world, in the origin of the Americas. Moreover, the vast majority of tribes contain no ex-members. In fact, it was not found in native tribes in Central or South America. Again, and what about this X thing, man? You take sample that already were there long 600 years ago, so what's the big deal? Of course it's one of them. Again, we did these patterns mean? What did these patterns mean? Independent researchers associated with the Edgar Cave Association (ARE) quickly point out that the data supported some of the material found in the Atlantis reading that the sleeping prophet had given in the 1930s. Case noted that some Atlantis refugees had immigrated to the northeastern region of the United States and later formed the Iroquois nation. It was in those tribes that the highest concentration of the X haplogroup was found. They are Asian nevertheless, but you are not talking about the very, very real and scientific Atlantis people. My goodness. The Casey readers also claim that some of these refugees went to the American Southeast and others migrated to the Mount Buda region and formed their civilization. Or that the psychic formation would so closely parallel the distribution pattern of the X lineage. The Casey readers are all crazy, all out of place, truly messy, and there's a lot of discrepancy. Casey readers claim that some of these refugees went to American Southeast and others migrated to the Mount Buda region and formed that civilization, or that his psychic information so closely parallel the distribution pattern of the X lineage. Casey had also given the dates that this immigration had occurred, and they too agreed with the DNA finds. The plot was surely thickening in a most fascinating way. If the story stopped here, it would be enough to hold interest and provoke thought. However, it goes further, much further. The apparent widespread presence of the X lineage across what's now known as the United States appears to show a wide initial dispersal. One could postulate a west-east migration of this haplogroup from Siberia, Asia, but the scenario poses two serious obstacles. First, the greatest concentration of this group is found in the northeastern region of the United States. 2 is visually absent in Asia. The greatest concentration of this group is found in the northeast region of the United States. Huh? So it's not from Asia, it's from Egypt. I know better than these people. My goodness. Even the Bible also stated that there's a lot of these people in the ancient Babylonia, Egypt, etc. I love how people just kind of step on the dark without being sure. They are just comparing ancient people with people that come from Asia to Americas. It makes me even want to laugh. These people come from ancient Egypt and Asia, and they are comparing with those other people that supposedly come from the other part of the world. Those were the people who lived back in Atlantis, the Hellenes, Greeks, and the Iberians, and many others. And there were they claim to have people that look like half men, half beast, like cyclops, giants, dolphins, half men, half horses, unicorn, etc., and Minotaurus, etc. Because the reptilians used experiment in the labs with humans and non-humans and animal kingdom. And then they come to say that they are comparing people that came mostly recently, maybe 600 years ago, maximum 1000 years ago, and it's really very, very stupid for some people to absorb it and to accept it. And I didn't go to high university to know all this. As a good detective novel, all of the clues had not been uncovered in the late 1990s when the X group Of course not, you all don't know, you just stab in the dark and you take long to know. I knew it since 1980s. I knew it long time ago already. When the X group had been identified and was being hotly debated. And they are not anything with these people from Asia that you're talking about. Atlanteans was other people. They make trade with Africa. They made trade with other part of the world, with Mongolia. The one that were very close to them was Mongolia. Okay, and the rest of Europe. The Nazis pressed forward and launched a probe into the Altai tribe located in the Gobi. Why must you talk about these people? These people I already know. They don't come there. They come from there. They came from Egypt. One day we'll know. One day when you grow wiser and smarter, then you all will know the truth. What I'm saying right now. I have been studied before you a long time ago. I have been searched. And I don't need to be archaeologist or scientist or anthropologist to find out. It's all in my mind. This earth and found the X lineage in small numbers. It's nonsense. The dudes take some sample of those Asian people that were buried there in the Americas recently compared to 50,000 to 100,000 years ago. And then the dude go about making matches, make DNA matches, chromosome matches. Obvious that it will pinpoint to the people that is still living there in the Americas, the people who came from Asia about 600, 700 years ago. Of course. Then what you want? You take the sample from tribal people, from their remains, and then you want what to come out to match for a cyclope or a giant? That's ridiculous. Of course, you take that sample, the X lineage, you take this X lineage sample, and you go about looking if this match with the local tribal people. Of course, it will match. If not if this tribe, then if the other tribes. It's nothing mysterious about it. There's nothing so great. There's no great findings in this. I find it to be very commonplace discovery. This is the only population in Asia that exhibits this haplogroup, and as such they comprise a tiny isolated genetic island. Hey dude, you don't need to go and do DNA, just look at them, look at the culture shamanism come from Asia, dude. Then there's the skin color, then there's the head, and the traits, the physical characteristic, and the animistic behavior of worship certain gods, polytheism, etc., animism, etc. It's all in there ready for you to know and see. if you are smart enough to make comparison. You don't need to go to lab to do this, find all the tangible find, all the technical finds, studies, searching. Doesn't need all this. It's all common sense. It's logic. You just have to find it in your mind. Study, analyze from afar, and you will find the answer inside of you. And if you ask, as I said earlier, try to find a Paje or a shaman, Paje or Apache. Apache is their leader, right? The leader of the tribe. Try to find a very ancient one, and then press him to tell the truth about what he knows about the history of the Americas and what he fears most. And he will talk about the gods that came before them, and they'll talk about the people who already lived there long before they came from Asia. Okay? I'm not asking you to ask from those modern tribal people, they're dissident. No, you need to find a very old one, ancient one, let's say 150, which could help in some history and finds. If there is one that still lives that's very old, he could have some information about their origin, the origin of the people. I know, I'm not going to details, but I know more than that. Who brought them there? I know who brought them there. Orthodox anthropologists were related if the news reached their ears. They seized on this find as smoking gun proof that the X group belonged to them. There's no big deal, but doesn't mean that they were the original, the first to live in that continent. The X group in North America had its ancestral roots in Siberia, Asia. End of its story. To say that this was an unscientific rush to a final conclusion that has just happened to agree with their long-held beliefs is an understatement. Let us pause and use logic. This is what I like, logic and common sense, and try to walk through what we are being asked to accept. The Gobi Desert is about 80,000 miles from the northeastern section of the United States. We are being told that this tribe tracked their distant sea and transferred their genes from their ancestral homeland to the Great Lakes without depositing the X group genes in other parts of Asia, Alaska, Canada, and the region between Washington and the Northeast America. Yeah, but you don't need even to do any test, whatever. You just need to look at them and see their descendants around the Middle East, Asia. Then you will find out where they come from. Okay, everyone agrees that any such migration will have taken place during the harshest of conditions since the Ice Age still held this entire region in its frigid grip. Furthermore, we are being asked to suspend our disbelief raised from the notion that a time tribe trekked these vast distances across a frozen landscape for unknown reasons. No, was not cold at all. Nothing imagines the Americas, and the Americas too was very cold. So why they went there? Why they went to Siberia? If they want to escape from the cold, why did they went to Siberia? Siberia is what? Tropic. North American Canada now is tropic. In the USA also is tropical all year round. No. All this rubbish doesn't make any sense. Frozen landscape for no new reasons. They once placed it there for keeping, for to be the keepers of the land until their master returned. Why would any small tribe risk everything and wander halfway around the globe during an ice age when they did not know what lay beyond the next horizon? In fact, no, someone took them there by boats. Don't worry. Don't need to find any more finds. Some faction took them there, okay, by boats. Boats are very, very ancient. It's nothing new. It's nothing modern. In fact, the anthropologists and historians know that this is not the way human tribes have operated since the dawn of time. Of course not. They went there by boat. They went like free ride. Someone at that time was glad to take them there. On February 16, 1932, Casey related some information during a reading that extraordinarily congruent to this unfolding genetic mystery story. When asked about the possession of the continent of Atlantis, he replied, "The possession of the continent of Atlantis occupies that of between the Gulf of Mexico on one hand and the Mediterranean open the other. The British Islands, South Americas, Central Americas, evidence of this lost civilization to be found in the Pyrenees and Morocco to one hand, British Honduras, not British Honduras, British Iceland, Yucatan in America and open the other, and also near Canada. It covers up to Canada. No wonder now you see Canada all about Antarctica and cold. Now we must pick up the trail of the clues on the other side of the Atlantic. Let us keep in mind that when Casey gave this reading, DNA had not yet been discovered, and there was no such thing as empty DNA analysis. But nevertheless, he never said anything very 100% accurate. He just stepped on the dark, given what the entity he was canalized wanted him to know at that time, because as he said earlier, it was not the right time for disclosure yet. Nevertheless, he mentioned the evidences into a specific local, the Pyrenees, a mountain range transition between France and Spain, where the Basques live exactly, and in Morocco, where another ancient group, the Berbers, the Amazighs Berber resides. Astonishingly, these two populations contain the highest frequency of the X lineage found in Europe and North Africa. The Berbers, here's the Berbers. They have the traits of Arabs. Exactly. But doesn't mean that they make part of the Basque lineage. The Basque lineage is ancient Romans. The Basque have long puzzled anthropologists, linguistics, and historians because although they are Caucasian, they do not fit in with the rest of the European population. Hello, they speak like Italian, like Latin. Some of their grammatics are Latin. So what? So what's the big mystery about them? They are Latin. Their language is not related to any other tongue in the world. No, is a bit of Romanian and Italian. Prior to the advent of genetic research tools, investigators used the ABO blood groups to study the relationships between human populations as well as their migration pattern. The Basques turned out to be unique in terms of blood types as well. As a population, they contain the highest levels of Rh minus O negative blood in the world and among the lowest type B. Now, what Case was suggesting is that some of the people that fled the sinking continent went west and settled and became the Iroquois. Others went east to the Iberian Peninsula, then the Pyrenees Basques. That some of the people fled the Cinque continent, went west and settled and became the Iroquois. Others went east to the Iberian Peninsula, then the Pyrenees Basques in the west coast of North Africa, then the Atlas Mountains Berber, Amazigh. Turning to the Berbers, we find yet another group that contains the highest frequency of haplogroup X in the world. It's a coincidence that these disparate peoples share very rare empty DNA lineage. They are what they call hybrid people. They are so family that of aliens, but they are none the wise. I talk to them, they don't have much information. Their memories totally erased. They are not very bright people. Nevertheless, some of us who were born in the Americas right now, we were ancient Atlanteans. We had a life in Atlantis long time ago. It's unfortunate that the Berbers have never received much attention from science over the years. Here we have a Caucasian race living in North Africa, of all places. Hello, North Africa shares DNA French with Romans, ancient Romans, and Greeks. That's why they look the way they are. You see, so there's nothing mysterious about it. Their looks were inherited by the Greeks, Romans, and French. Anthropologists dismissed them because they did not fit well into the out of Africa scenario. It was assumed that they had back immigrated southward from somewhere in Europe. And their genetic is from those people that went there to Africa in the Middle East from Europe. However, their theory has been abandoned, and scientists now accept the fact that they are an indigenous people, which they believe go back to the Stone Age. But how can this be? We must ask, since the rest of the continent below the Sahara is black African. No, as I told you, they are mixed French, Greek, Italians. What's so difficult to understand?